On a seemingly ordinary day, Air India Flight 171 took off with 95 people on board, passengers and crew with plans, dreams and destinations. It was a routine flight from Bombay, now Mumbai, to Dubai, a path the aircraft had flown many times before. The skies were clear, the systems functional, and everything appeared to be in perfect order. But what happened next would not only end in tragedy, it would leave behind a mystery that decades later still puzzles investigators, aviation experts, and spiritual thinkers alike. In the final moments before the crash, a mysterious sound, described by some as a deep mechanical growl, was heard by witnesses and recorded faintly on black box data. It wasn't the usual noise of an engine failure or turbulence. It was something else, something no one could quite explain. And then, silence, impact, fire. The crash of Air India Flight 171 had taken place, and the haunting sound before the disaster would become a key part of its legend. Flight 171 was a Boeing 707 aircraft, a trusted workhorse of its time, known for reliability and long-distance capability. On that fateful morning, it carried 87 passengers, men, women, children, professionals, families, all unaware that they were stepping into what would become a historical aviation tragedy. Alongside them were 8 crew members, experienced pilots, calm and prepared flight attendants, all ready for what was expected to be a standard journey from Bombay, now Mumbai, to Dubai. The flight took off without incident. The weather was clear, communication with air traffic control was normal, and the aircraft maintained a steady, smooth trajectory throughout the bulk of the trip. All systems appeared functional, and the atmosphere inside the cabin was peaceful. Passengers were relaxed, many likely preparing mentally for their arrival, looking forward to reuniting with loved ones or beginning new ventures abroad. However, as Flight 171 approached its destination and began its descent, the ordinary turned catastrophic. Without prior warning, the aircraft's left engine suddenly failed. In the world of aviation, engine failures, though rare, are planned for. Pilots are trained to respond swiftly, but what followed wasn't a typical malfunction. The engine failure triggered a fire, and that fire spread rapidly. Within moments, it compromised one of the aircraft's most vital control systems, the hydraulics. The hydraulic system in a plane like the Boeing 707 is not optional. It powers the flaps, the landing gear, and most critically, the control surfaces that allow the pilot to maneuver the aircraft. Once these systems were lost, the crew's ability to guide or stabilize the plane was reduced to almost nothing. At approximately 6:35 a.m. local time, just miles from the runway, the aircraft succumbed to the damage. It crashed with devastating force. The wreckage was... Emergency teams were dispatched immediately, but they arrived to a scene of utter destruction, twisted metal, scorched earth, and silence. What began as a normal, peaceful flight had ended in heartbreak, confusion, and a series of unanswered questions. In the aftermath, investigators would try to piece together what had gone so terribly wrong, and beyond the technical findings, a haunting detail would emerge. Reports of a strange, almost unexplainable sound heard in the final seconds before impact. A sound that still leaves experts and eyewitnesses unsettled decades later. The tragedy claimed the lives of nearly everyone on board. Emergency crews arrived to a scene of horror, twisted metal, fire, and silence. For many, the story ends there. But for those who paid attention to the details, it had only begun. Survivors and air traffic controllers reported something highly unusual. Moments before the crash, a strange sound was heard. Not a typical explosion or engine sputter, but a powerful, almost unnatural sound. It resembled a violent mechanical roar followed by a sharp pulse or shock. For some, it sounded like the aircraft itself crying out. For others, like something more spiritual, even otherworldly. Investigators reviewed the black box audio, but even after analysis, the sound remained unexplained. Some speculated it was a rare type of engine compressor failure, others weren't so sure. Aviation professionals who listened to the recordings noted that the frequency of the sound didn't match known mechanical malfunctions. It was unique, unclassified, and terrifying. As more information emerged, so did the theories. Some suggested sabotage, others pointed to spiritual warfare, especially given similar eerie reports in other aviation incidents worldwide. But in the case of Flight 171, there was no evidence of foul play, only a sound that continues to haunt those who studied the crash. The mystery deepens when you consider modern aviation cases where similar unexplained sounds were recorded just moments before a plane lost control. Could this be a warning sign, a recurring spiritual signal, or something more scientific that we just haven't understood yet? To this day, the crash of Air India Flight 171 remains a tragedy steeped in mystery. While mechanical failure was officially blamed, the mysterious sound before the crash leaves a lingering question. Was this truly a technical issue, or was something deeper happening in the unseen realm? Was it coincidence, or was it a signal, a spiritual echo, a cry from a dimension we don't fully understand? For the families of the victims, the crash was a painful loss. For investigators, it was an unsolved puzzle. And for the rest of the world, it stands as a reminder that even in an age of technology and data, some things remain beyond explanation. If this story stirred something in your heart, if it made you pause, reflect, or even wonder about the deeper forces behind the events we often call coincidence, then this is the kind of truth you need more of. Subscribe to this channel, because here we don't just report stories, we decode the mystery, we expose the spiritual, and we search for truth beneath the surface. Every plane crash, every strange event, every forgotten headline often hides a bigger message, a warning, a pattern, or a spiritual reality. And that's what I bring to light. Real life mysteries, deep spiritual insight, and content that challenges what you think you know. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think that sound was? Was it mechanical, spiritual, something from another dimension, or a sign from the invisible realm? Drop your thoughts, your theories, or even your prayers down in the comments. I read them all. This is not just entertainment. This is a journey into the things the world ignores and the truths few are willing to speak on. I'm Accam, and this was the mystery of Air India Flight 171. Until next time, stay awake, stay discerning, and never stop seeking the truth.